I put one beehive on my property 2 years ago. Just one. A single wooden box with 50,000 bees, and my cucumber harvest tripled. Not doubled, tripled. From 60 pounds to 180 pounds. Same seeds, same soil, same water, same sunlight. The only difference was pollination. Before the hive, maybe 30% of my cucumber flowers turned into fruit. The rest dropped off, withered, died. After the hive, 90% became cucumbers. Every flower visited, every ovary fertilized, every potential fruit realized. And it wasn't just cucumbers. Squash went from 12 plants producing 40 pounds to the same 12 plants producing 120 pounds. Zucchini, pumpkins, melons, all exploded in production. Because here's what they don't tell you at the garden center. Here's what the seed packets don't mention. Here's what modern agriculture has made you forget. Most of your food requires pollination. And without bees, pollination doesn't happen. Not efficiently, not completely, not at all in many cases. Today, you're going to see the evidence. Side-by-side comparison, numbers, photos, the brutal truth about what happens when bees are absent versus when they're present. But more than that, you're going to learn exactly how to get bees working for you, whether you want a hive or not, whether you have space or not, whether you have time or not. Because this isn't complicated. This isn't expensive. This is just biology. Biology that's been disrupted. And you're going to learn how to restore it. So stay until the end. Because by the time we're done, you'll understand why 1 in 3 bites of food you eat exists because of bees. And you'll know exactly what to do about it. The story starts 3 years ago. My garden was decent, not great, decent. I grew tomatoes, peppers, beans, cucumbers, squash. Standard suburban garden, 20 by 30 feet, raised beds, good soil. I followed all the advice, watered correctly, fertilized appropriately, removed pests, and I got vegetables. But the yields were underwhelming, especially cucumbers and squash. I'd plant 12 cucumber plants. They'd grow beautifully. Big leaves, thick vines, covered in flowers, yellow flowers everywhere. I'd see all those flowers and think this year is going to be amazing. Then the flowers would drop, one by one. The tiny cucumbers behind them, the ovaries, would turn yellow, shrivel, fall off. Maybe 3 out of 10 flowers became actual cucumbers. I assumed it was a disease, or nutrient deficiency, or watering issue. I tried everything. Changed fertilizer, adjusted watering schedule, sprayed for pests. Nothing changed. The flowers kept dropping. Then my neighbor, an old guy named Walter, came over. Walter had been gardening for 40 years. He looked at my cucumber plants, covered in flowers but hardly any fruit, and he said, "Where are your bees?" I looked around, didn't see any. Walter nodded. "That's your problem. No pollination." I was confused. I thought pollination just happened. Wind, gravity, something. Walter explained. Cucumbers are insect pollinated. They have separate male and female flowers. The pollen has to move from male flowers to female flowers. Wind doesn't do it. The pollen is too heavy, too sticky. Only insects can do it, mostly bees. And if you don't have bees visiting your garden, your cucumbers don't get pollinated. The female flowers open, wait, get nothing, and abort. That's why they drop. I asked why I didn't have bees. Walter said, "Look around. Your neighbors spray their lawns with chemicals. The park down the street sprays for mosquitoes. There are no wildflowers anywhere, no clover, no dandelions. Nothing for bees to eat except your cucumber flowers. And that's not enough to sustain them. They need diverse food sources, pollen, nectar, from spring to fall. If they can't find that here, they don't live here. And if they don't live here, they don't pollinate your garden. It's that simple. I'd never thought about it, never connected the absence of bees to my harvest. Walter suggested I either hand pollinate or get bees. Hand pollination means taking a small paintbrush, going to a male flower, collecting pollen, then transferring it to a female flower. Every single flower, every morning. Because cucumber flowers only stay open for a few hours. Miss that window and pollination doesn't happen. That sounded tedious. Walter agreed, so he said, "Get bees." I was intimidated. Beekeeping seemed complicated, expensive, dangerous. Walter laughed. "It's none of those things. You can start with one hive. Basic equipment runs $200 to $300. A hive, frames, protective gear, smoker. The bees themselves cost about $150 for a package, so $500 total to start. And once you set it up, it's 2 hours of work per month. That's it. Check the hive. Make sure the queen is laying. Make sure they have space. Make sure they're healthy. Done. And in return, they pollinate everything within a 3-mile radius. Plus, you get honey. 15 to 30 pounds per year from one hive. Walter had 3 hives, sold honey to neighbors, made a few $100s a year. But the real value, he said, was the garden. His yields were triple what mine were. Same space, same crops, just better pollination. I decided to try it. That winter, I took a beekeeping class, local extension office, 4 evenings, $50. They taught the basics: bee biology, hive management, seasonal tasks. It wasn't complicated. Bees are incredibly self-sufficient. They build their own comb, raise their own young, find their own food. You just provide the box and make sure they don't run out of space or get diseased. In spring, I bought a package of bees, 15,000 bees and 1 queen in a screened box. Brought them home, installed them in the hive I'd assembled, stood back, and watched. Within minutes, bees were flying out, exploring, orienting to their new home. Within days, they were bringing back pollen, yellow on their legs, orange, white, different colors from different flowers. Within weeks, the hive was established. The queen was laying, the population was growing, and my garden transformed. Here's a simple question. Do you have bees visiting your garden regularly? Yes or no? Answer in the comments. I want to see how many of you are already experiencing this. That first summer with bees was a revelation. I didn't do anything different in my garden. Same varieties, same planting schedule, same care, but the results were shocking. Cucumbers. I planted 12 plants like always. They flowered like always. But this time, every flower that opened got visited. I'd watch in the morning. Bees would fly from flower to flower, landing in the center, collecting pollen and nectar, and in the process, transferring pollen. Female flowers got pollinated. The tiny cucumber behind the flower started growing. Instead of shriveling, instead of dropping, it grew and grew and became a full-size cucumber. I counted. Out of 100 female flowers, 92 became cucumbers. Previous years, maybe 30 became cucumbers. That's a 3 times difference. Harvest numbers proved it. Previous year, 60 pounds of cucumbers from 12 plants. That year, 178 pounds. I weighed them, documented it. Because I couldn't believe it. Squash was even more dramatic. I had 6 zucchini plants. The year before, they produced maybe 30 pounds total. That year, 94 pounds, 3 times. And the zucchinis were better, straighter, more uniform. Because proper pollination creates better-shaped fruit. Incomplete pollination leads to misshapen fruit. curved, swollen on one end, skinny on the other. But complete pollination creates uniform fruit. Every seed inside gets fertilized. The whole fruit develops evenly. My zucchinis looked like they came from a farm. Perfect. My pumpkins. I grew them for fun. 4 plants. Previous year, 2 pumpkins. That year, 11. And they were bigger, heavier, more orange, because the plant wasn't aborting fruit. It was developing every pollinated flower into a pumpkin. Melons. I tried cantaloupe. 3 plants. 0 melons the previous year. That year, 9. Not huge, but actual edible melons. Sweet. Ripe. Because the flowers got pollinated. It wasn't just cucurbits. Squash family. Tomatoes also improved. Tomatoes are self-pollinating. Wind or vibration shakes the pollen from the anthers to the stigma within the same flower. They don't need insects, but they benefit from them. Bees landing on tomato flowers vibrate them. It's called buzz pollination. The vibration releases more pollen, more complete pollination, and that means more seeds. And more seeds signals to the plant to create bigger fruit. My tomatoes were 20% bigger that year. Not triple, but noticeable. Peppers, same thing. Self-pollinating, but better with bee visits. 10 to 15% yield increase. Even my beans and peas, which are self-pollinating, seem to produce more. Maybe because the bees were managing other pests, creating a healthier ecosystem. I don't know the mechanism, but the garden as a whole was more productive. And the bees required almost no work. I checked the hive every 2 weeks, took 15 minutes, opened the top, pulled out a frame, looked for eggs, larvae, capped brood, signs the queen was healthy and laying, looked for honey stores, made sure they had enough food, looked for diseases, didn't see any, closed it up, done. I wore a veil and gloves. The bees were calm. They didn't attack. They were busy working. Didn't care about me as long as I moved slowly and didn't crush them. By late summer, they'd filled several frames with honey. I harvested 3 frames, left the rest for them to overwinter. From those 3 frames, I extracted 18 pounds of honey. Golden. Delicious. I gave half to neighbors. Kept half. Used it for a year. So my $500 investment gave me tripled garden yields plus 18 pounds of honey plus pollination services for my neighbors' gardens too. Because bees fly up to 3 miles. Walter's hives were 200 yards away. Mine were now active. Between us, we were pollinating the whole neighborhood. And people noticed. Other neighbors started commenting. Their gardens were better this year. More tomatoes. More squash. They didn't know why. I knew. Bees. If you're finding this valuable, hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Because what's coming next is the science behind why this works and the exact steps to make it happen for you. Let's talk about pollination biology. Because understanding this makes everything clear. Plants reproduce sexually. Most of them. They have male parts that produce pollen and female parts that receive pollen. When pollen lands on the female part, fertilization happens, seeds form, and the fruit or seed pod develops to protect those seeds. But here's the problem. Plants can't move. They can't mate like animals, so they evolved strategies to move pollen from one flower to another. Some plants use wind, grasses, corn, wheat. Their pollen is light, abundant, gets blown around, lands randomly, inefficient, but it works. Some plants use water, aquatic plants, pollen floats, drifts, eventually finds a female flower, also inefficient, but sufficient. But many plants, especially vegetables and fruits, evolved a better strategy. They partnered with insects. They produce nectar, a sugary liquid insects want, and pollen, a protein-rich food. Insects visit flowers to collect these foods, and in the process, they get covered in pollen. When they visit the next flower, some of that pollen rubs off onto the female parts. Pollination happens. It's a trade. Plant gives food. Insect provides pollination service. Both benefit. This system is so effective that about 75% of flowering plants use it. And the most efficient pollinators are bees. Bees visit hundreds of flowers per day, thousands per week. They are covered in hairs that pollen sticks to. They actively collect pollen to feed their larvae. They're specialized, and they're reliable. Once a bee finds a good food source, she keeps returning. She recruits other bees through dance, literally. Bees communicate the location of flowers through a waggle dance. So one bee finding your cucumbers becomes 50 bees visiting your cucumbers. Consistent, thorough, free. Now here's what happens without bees. Your cucumber plant produces flowers. Male flowers first. They have stamens, pollen-producing structures. Then female flowers. They have an ovary at the base, that tiny cucumber, and a stigma. The pollen-receiving structure. The female flower opens in the morning, stays open for a few hours. If a bee visits, she brings pollen from a male flower. Pollen lands on the stigma, travels down to the ovary, fertilizes the ovules. The tiny cucumber starts growing. Cells divide. The fruit enlarges. In a week, you have a small cucumber. In 2 weeks, a harvestable one. But if no bee visits, the stigma doesn't get pollen. The ovules don't get fertilized. The plant aborts the fruit. Why waste energy on a fruit with no seeds? From an evolutionary perspective, fruit is just a vehicle for seeds. No seeds means no point. So the plant drops the flower. The tiny cucumber yellows, shrivels, falls off. This happens with squash, zucchini, pumpkins, melons, cucumbers, all cucurbits. They absolutely require insect pollination. Wind doesn't work. Their pollen is too sticky. Self-pollination doesn't work. The male and female flowers are separate. Insects are the only option. The USDA did studies. Without pollinators, cucumber yields drop by 90%, squash by 85%, melons by 95%. These crops essentially fail without pollination. You get a few fruits from random insect visits, flies, beetles, maybe, but not enough for a real harvest. With honeybees, yields increase by 300 to 400% compared to no pollinators. That's triple to quadruple. My experience matches the science. And it's not just cucurbits. Apples, pears, cherries, almonds, blueberries, strawberries all require insect pollination. The USDA estimates that 1 in 3 bites of food we eat depends on pollinators, mostly bees. Without them, our food system collapses, not slowly, quickly, within 1 generation, because the crops that feed us require them. And here's the terrifying part. Bee populations are crashing, down 40% in the last decade. Why? Pesticides, neonicotinoids especially. They're used on crops, on lawns, in gardens. These chemicals kill bees, not immediately, but they impair navigation. Bees can't find their way home. They die in the field, or they damage immune systems. Bees get diseases, die in the hive, or they kill the queen. The hive collapses. Habitat loss is another factor. Suburban lawns used to have clover, dandelions, wildflowers. Now, they're sterile monocultures, grass only, sprayed, mowed. No food for bees. Farmland used to have hedgerows, field margins, wildflowers between crops. Now, it's fence row to fence row planting. No habitat, no diversity. Bees starve. Diseases are spreading. Varroa mites, a parasite from Asia, spread worldwide, weakens bees, transmits viruses, kills colonies. Beekeepers fight them, but it's hard. And climate change disrupts timing. Flowers bloom earlier, bees emerge later, mismatch, starvation. All these factors combine, and bee populations decline. Commercial agriculture knows this. They rent beehives. Big farms pay beekeepers to bring hives to their fields during bloom. Almonds in California. 2 million hives rented every February. Trucked in from across the country, placed in orchards, pollinate the trees, then trucked out. It's a massive operation. Costs farmers about $200 per hive. But without it, almonds don't produce. The entire crop fails. It's pollination as a service, industrial scale, and it's fragile. If bees keep declining, if beekeepers can't supply enough hives, if diseases wipe out colonies, the system breaks. Food production drops, prices spike, availability decreases. It's a quiet crisis, not dramatic, not sudden, but real and accelerating. But here's what gives me hope. Individual action matters. One hive on one property makes a difference, not globally, but locally. Your garden, your neighbor's garden, the park, the vacant lot. Bees from your hive service a 3-mile radius. That's 28 square miles, thousands of gardens, hundreds of farms. One hive supports all of that. And if more people do it, if more backyards have hives, if more neighborhoods support bees, the decline stops. We create a network, a web of pollination, distributed, resilient, not dependent on industrial beekeeping, not vulnerable to centralized failure, just individuals choosing to support the system that feeds them. It's practical, it's empowering, and it works. Now, let's get specific. How do you actually do this? 2 paths. 1. Get your own hive. 2. Attract wild bees. Both work. Both help. Let's start with getting a hive. First, check local regulations. Some cities allow backyard beekeeping. Some don't. Some require permits. Check zoning laws. HOA rules if applicable. Most places allow it, but confirm first. Second, take a class. Local beekeeping associations offer them. Extension offices offer them. Usually in winter, 4 to 8 hours of instruction, cost $50 to $100. Worth it. You learn the basics, meet local beekeepers, get resources. Third, buy equipment. You need a hive. That's the wooden boxes bees live in. Standard is a Langstroth hive. 2 boxes to start. Deep boxes. 10 frames each, cost about $150. You need frames, wooden rectangles that hold the comb, 20 frames, about $40. You need foundation, wax sheets that guide bees to build straight comb, optional but helpful, $20. You need a hive tool, metal lever for prying boxes apart. Bees glue everything with propolis, $10. You need a smoker, a device that puffs cool smoke, calms bees, $30. You need protective gear, veil minimum, full suit better, $50 to $100. Gloves, $10. Total equipment cost, $300. Can find used equipment cheaper. Can build your own hive. But $300 is a reasonable starting budget. Fourth, buy bees. You can buy a package. 3 pounds of bees with a queen, about $150. Available in spring. Order in winter. They ship in April or May, depending on your climate. Or you can buy a nucleus colony, a nuke, 5 frames with bees, brood, and a queen, established colony. Easier for beginners, about $200. Or you can catch a swarm, free, but requires knowledge and luck. For first-timers, buy a package or a nuke. Fifth, install bees. This happens in spring. You set up the hive, put the bees in, they take over, start building comb, raising brood, foraging. You check weekly at first, make sure they're settling in, then every 2 weeks, then monthly. Total time, 2 hours per month. That's it. Not daily work, not even weekly. Bees are autonomous. They don't need you constantly, just occasional oversight. Sixth, manage through seasons. Spring, bees build up population, expand. You add boxes as they fill frames with brood and honey. Summer, peak population, peak honey production. You harvest honey in late summer. Leave enough for them, about 60 pounds for winter. Take the excess. Fall, population declines. They prepare for winter. You reduce hive size. Insulate if needed in cold climates. Winter, bees cluster, stay warm, eat stored honey. You leave them alone. Just check on warm days, that entrance isn't blocked. That's the cycle, year after year. And each year, your garden benefits. Your harvest increases, your neighbors benefit. The local ecosystem strengthens. Cost breakdown. Initial setup, $300 equipment, $150 bees, total $450. Annual costs, minimal. Maybe $20 for sugar syrup if they run low on food. Maybe $50 for disease treatments if needed. Maybe nothing. Many years, bees are self-sufficient. Benefits, triple harvest on cucurbits, significant increase on other crops, 15 to 30 pounds of honey per year, worth $150 to $300 if you sold it, but you'll probably use it. Pollination services to neighbors, worth hundreds in increased yields for them. Ecosystem support, worth everything. Return on investment, year 1, break even, or slight loss. Year 2 onwards, massive gain. Not in cash necessarily, but in food, in resilience, in connection to natural systems. Now, what if you don't want a hive? What if you're intimidated, or not allowed, or don't have time? You can still support bees. You can attract wild bees, native bees, solitary bees. They don't make honey. They don't live in hives, but they pollinate. Often better than honeybees. Here's how. First, stop spraying. No pesticides, no herbicides, nothing. If you must control pests, use organic methods, hand picking, soap sprays, row covers, but no chemicals. Chemicals kill bees, all bees, not just target pests. Second, plant flowers, diverse flowers. Blooming from spring to fall, bees need continuous food. Early spring, crocuses, pussy willows, dandelions. Let the dandelions bloom. Don't mow. Mid-spring, fruit tree blossoms, lilacs. Late spring, clover. Let clover grow in your lawn. Stop fighting it. It's bee food. Summer, lavender, borage, sunflowers, zinnias, cosmos. All easy to grow. Fall, asters, sedum, goldenrod. These late bloomers are crucial. Bees need food to prepare for winter. Third, provide habitat. Native bees nest in various places, some in the ground. Leave bare patches of soil. Don't mulch everywhere. Some in hollow stems. Leave dead plant stalks standing over winter. Don't cut everything down in fall. Some in wood. Drill holes in logs, 1/2 inch diameter, 6 inches deep, or buy bee houses. They're like bird houses but with tubes. Cost $15 to $30. Hang on a sunny wall. Native bees will use them, mason bees especially, excellent pollinators. Fourth, provide water. Bees need water, especially in summer. A shallow dish with pebbles or marbles. Bees land on the pebbles, drink from the edges, refill daily. Simple but essential. Fifth, be patient. It takes time. The first year, you might not see many bees, but as you build habitat, as flowers bloom, as word spreads in the bee community, somehow they'll come. Second year, you'll notice more. Third year, your garden will be buzzing, and your harvests will reflect it. I did both. I have a hive, and I planted bee-friendly flowers. My property is a bee haven, and the results are clear. My garden produces more than I can eat. I give vegetables to neighbors, to food banks. I make pickles, salsa, freeze squash, and still have excess. from the same space I always had, just better pollination. And I'm not special. I don't have skills others lack. I just made space for bees, let them do what they do, and harvested the benefits. You can do the same, whether you get a hive or just plant some flowers. Whether you have an acre or a balcony, bees will come. And when they do, everything changes. Here's the bottom line. Our food system is broken. It's dependent on long supply chains, on industrial agriculture, on chemicals, on systems most of us don't understand and can't control. But pollination is different. Pollination is local. It's biological. It's something you can influence directly. By supporting bees, you're not just increasing your harvest, you're participating in a fundamental ecosystem service. You're making your food system more resilient, more sustainable, more independent, and you're creating abundance, not scarcity, not competition, abundance. Because bees don't just pollinate your garden, they pollinate your neighbors. They pollinate wild plants. They create a web of fertility, a network of growth, and everyone benefits. That's rare. Most actions benefit the individual at the expense of others, but supporting bees benefits everyone. It's pure positive sum, and that's powerful. So here's my challenge. Do something. This week, this month, this year. If you want a hive, take a class. If you don't, plant some flowers. Clover, lavender, sunflowers, whatever grows in your area. Stop spraying. Let the dandelions bloom. Put out a water dish. Build or buy a bee house. Small actions, low cost, high impact. And watch what happens. Watch your garden transform. Watch your yields increase. Watch the bees arrive. Watch the system repair itself. Because that's what nature does when we stop fighting it. When we start cooperating, it heals, it thrives, it produces, and we get to participate, get to benefit, get to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Answer in the comments. Will you support bees this year? Yes or no? I want to see how many of you are ready to make this change. And if you are, if you want more information like this, if you want to learn other ways to work with nature instead of against it, subscribe, leave a like. Because I'll keep sharing, keep teaching, keep revealing what works, what's been forgotten, what needs to come back. This is just one piece, but it's an important piece. Because without bees, there is no food. With bees, there's abundance. The choice is yours. The power is yours. Use it. Thank you for watching. Now go make space for bees and watch your garden explode. But before you go, let me share some specific numbers that drove this point home for me, because data matters. Evidence matters. I kept detailed records. Year 1 before bees, 12 cucumber plants, 62 pounds total harvest. That's 5.2 pounds per plant. Year 2 with bees, 12 cucumber plants, 178 pounds. That's 14.8 pounds per plant, almost triple. But it gets better. The quality improved. Year 1, 35% of cucumbers were misshapen, curved, fat on one end, skinny on the other, caused by incomplete pollination. Year 2, 8% misshapen. The rest were uniform, straight, marketable. If I were selling these, the price difference would be significant. Ugly vegetables sell for half price. Perfect ones command premium. Squash numbers. Year 1, 6 zucchini plants, 31 pounds total. Year 2, 6 plants, 94 pounds. Triple. And the harvest window extended. Year 1, plants produced heavily for 3 weeks, then declined. Year 2, 6 weeks of heavy production. Why? Because with consistent pollination, the plants stayed vigorous. They weren't stressed by aborted flowers. They kept producing. Pumpkins. Year 1, 4 plants, 2 pumpkins. 8 pounds total. Year 2, 4 plants, 11 pumpkins, 83 pounds total. More than 10 times increase. And these were pie pumpkins, small, dense, perfect for cooking. I made pies, soups, roasted pumpkin, pumpkin bread from 4 plants. Because every female flower got pollinated, every potential pumpkin developed. Tomatoes. Year 1, 20 plants, 112 pounds. Year 2, 20 plants, 134 pounds. 20% increase. Not as dramatic as cucurbits, but significant. And the tomatoes were larger. Average weight year 1, 6 ounces. Year 2, 7.2 ounces. Bigger fruit means more seeds developed, more complete pollination. Peppers showed similar gains, 15% yield increase. Beans were unchanged. They don't need insect pollination, but everything that benefits from it showed measurable improvement. Total garden production, year 1, 340 pounds of vegetables. Year 2, 672 pounds. Basically doubled. From the same space, same inputs, just added bees. Now let's talk about the honey, because that's a bonus people don't always consider. Year 1 with the hive, I was conservative, didn't harvest until late summer, wanted to make sure the bees had enough for winter. When I did harvest, I pulled 3 frames from 1 box, used an extractor, a centrifuge that spins honey out of the comb. Borrowed one from the local beekeeping club. Got 18 pounds of honey, golden, fragrant, tasted like the flowers in my area, clover, wildflowers, a little bit of everything. I bottled it in mason jars, gave half to neighbors. They were thrilled. Homemade honey is special. It's a gift people remember. And it builds community, strengthens relationships, creates reciprocity. I kept 9 pounds for myself. Used it all year, in tea, on toast, in baking for marinades. Honey from your own bees tastes different. Not better necessarily, just different, more connected. You know exactly where it came from. You know the bees that made it. You watch them work. It means something. Store-bought honey is fine, but this was mine. Year 2, I was less conservative. Harvested 5 frames, 28 pounds, same story. Half given away, half kept. And the bees still had plenty. They refilled those frames before winter, worked overtime, stored enough to survive. Bees are incredible at resource management. They know what they need. As long as you don't take too much, they're fine. The economic calculation is interesting. Honey at the store costs $8 to $12 per pound for decent quality. Local raw honey costs $15 to $20 per pound. If I valued my 18 pounds at $15, that's $270 worth of honey. From a $500 initial investment. So year 1, I nearly broke even on honey alone. Add the increased vegetable harvest. Conservatively worth $300 in produce I didn't buy. Total value year 1, $570. Investment, $500. Positive return immediately. Year 2 and beyond, 0 additional investment. Just maintenance. Maybe $20 per year. Annual value, $500 to $700 depending on honey harvest and vegetable prices. That's a fantastic return. And it compounds year after year, for decades potentially. A hive can last 20 years. Bees can last indefinitely if managed well. But honestly, the numbers miss the point. The real value isn't economic. It's ecological. It's educational. It's emotional. Watching bees work is meditative. I'll sit near the hive on summer evenings. Watch them come and go, loaded with pollen, orange, yellow, white, red, every color representing a different flower. They're tireless. They leave at dawn, return at dusk. In between, they visit thousands of flowers. They communicate. They cooperate. They build. They defend. They adapt. It's a glimpse into a parallel society, operating by rules we barely understand, succeeding through collective effort. No individual bee matters, but the colony thrives. It's humbling, it's inspiring, and it's right there in your backyard. Kids love it. My neighbor's children come over to watch. They ask questions. How do bees make honey? Where's the queen? Can we see inside? I show them, let them hold frames, point out the different cells, brood, honey, pollen. They're fascinated. They learn biology, ecology, systems thinking, without a textbook, without a screen, just observation, direct experience. That's education, real education, and it shapes how they see the world. They understand now that food doesn't come from stores, it comes from pollination, from bees, from natural processes. That understanding will stay with them, influence their choices. Maybe they'll keep bees someday. Maybe they'll just plant flowers. Either way, they're connected, aware, responsible. There's also a preparedness angle. Not full prepper mode, but realistic. Supply chains are fragile. We saw that during the pandemic. Stores emptied, deliveries stopped. People panicked. But if you have a garden that's properly pollinated, you have food security. Not complete, but significant. You're not dependent on trucks, on distribution centers, on systems you don't control. You have cucumbers, squash, tomatoes, melons, fresh, nutritious, abundant. And if you have bees, you have honey, a long-term storable calorie source. Antibacterial, never spoils. Archaeologists found honey in Egyptian tombs, 3,000 years old, still edible. That's resilience, and it's sitting in your backyard, making you more self-sufficient without even trying. Community matters too. When I started beekeeping, I joined the local association, met people, all ages, all backgrounds, united by bees. We share knowledge, equipment, bees sometimes. If someone's hive dies, others offer splits. New queens. It's cooperative, not competitive. There's a culture of generosity in beekeeping. Maybe because bees themselves are generous. They pollinate freely. Don't charge. Don't discriminate. Just work. And beekeepers absorb that ethic, pay it forward, help newcomers, share successes and failures. It's community in the truest sense, built around mutual interest and mutual benefit. And that brings me back to the bigger picture. We live in a time of ecological crisis, biodiversity loss, climate change, habitat destruction. It's overwhelming. It's depressing. It's hard to know what to do. Recycling feels pointless. Voting feels slow. Protesting feels futile. But keeping bees, that's direct action. That's immediate impact. You're supporting pollinator populations. You're increasing local biodiversity. You're strengthening ecosystem resilience. You're producing food without industrial inputs. You're capturing solar energy as honey. You're teaching others. You're building community. All from one hive. All from a few $100s and a couple hours per month. That's empowerment. That's agency. That's hope. Not abstract hope. Concrete hope. Measurable. Visible. Delicious. So let me finish with this. The tripling of my cucumber harvest wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was biology. Basic biology that's been disrupted by modern practices. Chemical-dependent lawns, habitat destruction, pesticide use. These things broke the pollination system. But we can fix it. Not globally overnight, but locally, immediately. By making space for bees, by valuing pollinators, by cooperating with natural systems instead of fighting them. And when we do, the benefits cascade. More food, better food, healthier ecosystems, stronger communities, greater resilience. It all starts with one choice, one hive, or one packet of clover seeds, or one decision to stop spraying. Small actions, big consequences. I'm not special. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who tried, who listened to a neighbor, who took a class, who set up a hive, who watched what happened, and what happened exceeded every expectation. My garden transformed. My relationship with food changed. My understanding of ecosystems deepened. My sense of agency strengthened. And all because I made space for bees. You can do the same. The knowledge is available. The equipment is accessible. The bees are waiting. All that's needed is decision. The decision to try, to learn, to participate in the system that feeds you, to take responsibility for your part, and to harvest the rewards. So, one more time. Will you do it? Will you support bees this year? Write it in the comments. Make it public. Make it real. And if you want guidance, if you need encouragement, if you have questions, subscribe to this channel. This is what we do here. We rediscover what works. We share what's been forgotten. We build the skills that make us resilient. Beekeeping is one skill, but there are many others, all accessible, all powerful, all waiting for you to learn them. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Now go out there, plant those flowers, set up that hive, support those bees, and watch as your garden, your community, your life transforms. The power is in your hands. Use it well.